Hello YouTube. I am absolutely delighted to welcome you to my home and to this unbelievable collection of vase arrangements that we just made in a class that I taught for my website. Before I tell you about them, I want to thank you. I have loved us finding each other here on YouTube lately, and I love your comments, I love your enthusiasm, and I'm absolutely enthralled. Some of you grow peppers and make them into jelly, and others of you bind books or hang amazing wallpaper in Paris, or have some great thing you do to make your home wonderful and your guests welcome, and I am so excited to see everything you're up to. Thank you so much for taking an interest in what I'm doing. Today, my word, it has been a long day of floristry. It is almost 6 in the evening, and we started before 10 this morning. And don't worry, the class wasn't all those hours long. But the on-demand format that I use is wonderful because I can show you so much more with breaks and setups and changing setups than I can ever show you in one of my live classes. My live classes are wonderful, and we have such a good time. We learn a lot, but it's simply a different experience. And when I give you such a volume of information and break it down into digestible parts so you can really use the skills and use the knowledge to be successful on your own, it's nice to take a break. Sometimes I want to take a break, sometimes you want to take a break, and it helps you come back fresh so that we're learning together. I want to talk to you about two things before I go through all of what is in here, because boy, it's sensational. I want to talk to you generally about quality of materials, and the quality that I strive to give you in my instruction, because that cannot be assumed with everyone that teaches classes, whether you get them live or online. Getting materials of this absolutely divine, standout, bowl you over quality is the biggest challenge that I have running my business in my location. I can do it because I'm determined, and I have a couple of vendor relationships that I take better care of than probably a beloved pet, and I'm pretty oriented to spoiling my pets. And that is because in Kentucky, let's call it halfway between Louisville and Nashville, Tennessee, I am a rural person, and I cannot walk into a flower market and find any of this easily. I can't even order it and get it easily. I've got to jump through hoops. That is one reason I grow as many of my own materials as I can, and quite a few of my own materials are here today. But when I teach you, and certainly when I supply floristry, I want the very, very best materials. I don't want someone to say, oh, well, that would have been better if we had the quality of London or Paris. No, if I can't work to that standard, I'm not interested. That's not to say that there is not certainly a skill of making do with what you've got. But when you take a class with me, I want to teach you world-class standard. Then you can decide where, from that point down, you are comfortable trying things and finding ways to be successful that are rewarding for you. I never want to say you must do it my way. I just want to show you what's possible, hopefully inspire you, and come with a very humble attitude. I have had a parallel life in classical music, and through it, one of the great fortunes of my life is to have known and studied with some of the best teachers of music, particularly singing, in the whole world. Widely known teachers. And yes, they taught me about music and they taught me about singing, but they were exceptional teachers. They taught me how to teach. And for 10 years, I made a part of my living running a music teaching studio where I taught every day. I also have taught on faculty at a couple of universities, and I have practiced teaching. So when I turned my interest to teaching floristry, I bring the experience of having taught a variety of curriculum from high school grades all the way through graduate school levels. And I hope that I have developed a skill to deliver the information and say it in a variety of ways so that maybe it hits one of you and you understand, and yet I say it in a slightly different way and it hits another of you and you understand, and I make it approachable for everyone. If I can do it and I can explain it in a way that not only I understand, but my students in live classes have understood in the past, I'm confident that I'm giving you something you can understand and use to succeed as well. I also, and it's very important to me, I have structured my online classes differently than I've seen anyone else do. And that is, I am building a generative curriculum. Most people say you can take a class on subject A or you can take a class on subject Z, and never the two shall reference each other. And that's fine. You may certainly take my classes individually. But I have structured it so that if you so choose, you can take my cutting and conditioning class, you can take my vase arranging class, slowly, as I release new floristry classes, one builds on the other, and you will have a generative knowledge and skill set with which you can achieve something formidable. Speaking of formidable, look at what we have here. I am so proud that I offered this in a class. If I had been a student, frankly, I would have been beside myself, because I design all my classes to be the kind of class I always wanted when I was learning floristry, and I never found anywhere in the world. And boy, I beat the bushes, proverbially, to find the best classes. And even the fancy teachers were not very good, at best not complete. So what have we done? I started by teaching how to build a foliage base as I stand on my tiptoes so you can see me. And into the foliage base, I added more foliage from my own roses, my own ivy, local curly willow, the most beautiful delphinium I have maybe ever seen. It is absolutely sublime. I added some spray roses. I added these fabulous bicolor, slightly bicolor orange roses, of course. David Austin, Juliet garden roses, many people's favorite. Look at these unbelievable, deep rose pink. The class is not in particular on how to choose color combinations or what percentage of foliage to ratio of filler or main flowers. That was not the point of the class. Just simply, what are the nuts and bolts skills that you need to choose containers, choose materials, and build them in partnership successfully. And I think this is awfully impressive for such a simple subject. Look at this. This is literally built in a ball jar, a canning jar, wide mouth. And this is what I'm going to use to show you one of my most useful techniques ever. I'll show you that in just a moment. This contains quite a lot of my roses as well, and a lot of my rose foliage. Look at this. We've got Mauricio Trio, Peace Rose. I'd have to look at my rose bed map to see which one that red is. We've got this sensational sort of fuchsia magenta rose here. Aren't they just, oh, here we have Perfuma Earth Angel, and the scent is heavenly. Don't they just make you happy to be alive? Well, one thing that is extremely important to me is that I no longer use floral foam. And that is important indeed, because I had been a professional florist for over 20 years before I gave up floral foam, and giving it up and having to look back to history's best, most tried and true techniques is what finally made me a competent florist. I suggest you give up foam because of environmental reasons. If you want to know more about that, pop by my website, imathertonbaber.com. From the main menu, select Join the Revolution, main menu, Join the Revolution, and you can read all about my sustainability practices. And if you want to know specifically about foam, go to the blog article called Why Foam Free, and you can read all about what it does to our environment and why I don't use it any longer, and I suggest you don't either. So instead, I do a lot of arranging in plain water. And sometimes I use extravagant containers, sometimes I use extremely humble containers, And very often, I want to use a really interesting, unexpected container. The element of surprise is always a useful design element. It helps your viewer, so to speak, the receiver of your design, experience it as a once-in-a-lifetime situation. I will never again, they'll think subconsciously, I will never again see those flowers in that kind of container in my whole life, and it'll make them savor the moment, which is what you want. So, here is my tip. This is a decorative, you might call it a treats tin, the sort of thing that I might pack with caramels or shortbread cookies and pass around a relatively casual table after dinner for my guests to enjoy. Now, this is metal. I would never arrange in metal because it can react with the water to give your fresh cut flowers and foliage trouble. Never arrange in metal. Also, this might not be watertight, and even if it was, I don't think I'd want to hold water in this beautiful tin for a long period of time. So, what you do is you use a basic technique to build an arrangement that makes you happy. I will tell you, I built this for class. I did not build it for this demo, so it was not designed to pair with this container, but I'm going to show you anyway. I put a little riser in the bottom, and I'm simply going to put it in to demonstrate. Well, there we have it. To demonstrate that you don't have to build in your outer container. It can be but a veneer, a facade. And you have a totally independent vase and arrangement within. Again, I did not design these to go together. And another really great tip is, if you have a highly decorative container, aim for softer, gentler, more subtle composition and color choice on your arrangement. Maybe even all foliage. A variety of foliage perhaps, but all foliage. If you have a rather subdued, visually calm container, outer container, even porcelain, whatever. If it is more subdued, then maybe have more going on visually in your arrangement. But literally, this is just an outer hull, decorative merely, with two old pieces of wood in the bottom, and I plop this in, and look at that. No one is the wiser. That is an extremely useful tip. And I hope you'll give it a try, because once you go out into the brocantes and the flea markets and such, and you know that that is something you can do, it frees you up to pick up all sorts of unexpected, fabulous containers at, of course, wonderful prices, I hope. I hope that is exciting for you. I'm going to keep this short because we're losing daylight and I want to yet photograph these. But I hope you will think about my classes, because I have done my best to make my technique for how you create something as spectacular, show-stopping as this accessible and easy, even if you choose less lavish materials. You could achieve something very similar using the same technique, and carnations and chrysanthemums and so on. The techniques do not change. The style can be suited to your liking. Thank you very much. Of course, please subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content. Please click the bell icon to be alerted when more of these films are coming out. Give me a like if you feel inclined. I love your comments, so please don't be shy with them. And I'm on YouTube at I'm on Instagram at imathertonbaber. I'm on Facebook at imathertonbaber Studio-Workshop. And I look forward not only to seeing you, but to seeing some of your simple arrangements there. See you soon. Bye-bye.